President Biden's new economic plan would eliminate a tax break for many real estate owners that has allowed them to defer paying capital gains on property sales. Now, taking away that relief is one of the ways he's planning to pay for his $1.9 trillion spending package on new social programs. Closing that loophole, understand, is a part of this $1.9 trillion spending package. So joining me now to discuss this proposal and what it could mean for property owners and the market as a whole is owner of the Jim Bottrell Real Estate Team, Mr. Jim Bottrell. Jim, good to talk to you tonight.
Good to talk to you. How are you?
Well, I'd like to be talking about something that doesn't have to do with getting rid of tax breaks, but unfortunately, this is the climate we live in. So this tax break, it's been in place for 100 years, but now the president wants to eliminate it. For folks unfamiliar, can you explain how it works?
Well, first of all, I want to make sure that everybody understands that what I'm going to talk about now does not apply to your primary residence that you live in right now. This is for investment properties. So maybe some people are thinking it doesn't apply to them. It actually does. So real briefly, I'm going to show you how it works. I'm going to pull out my chart right here. Now, I apologize. I'm good at a lot of things in life. Drawing, maybe not so much. Should have had my 3-year-old do this. But this is, let's say that somebody owns one investment property. And this is how a 1031 exchange works. You own one investment property, and let's say you make some money in it. And then you decide, I'm going to sell it. And with the profit of that exchange or that sale, I'm going to buy 2 properties. And then let's say time goes along, and then maybe one of them does really well again. And you say, you know what, I'm going to sell that. And with the profit of that, I'm going to buy 3 properties. So without paying taxes each one, you are able to turn, one home into 4 homes. But if you have to give up half the money in taxes, is what basically they're saying is you're going to start paying taxes on this 1031 exchange. This sale doesn't happen at all. Because why would this person sell this home and then incur a bunch of taxes or give half the money away? So this whole side doesn't happen. And then only this happens. It doesn't make any sense at all. So they're just not going to do it. And that's so
if that whole side doesn't happen, then what does that do to the real estate market on the whole? Yeah,
and that's where the impact comes in because, Biden says this is only going to impact the super wealthy. People are making over $400,000 million, whatever. And that's just not true. It's going to impact everybody in a lot of ways. Now, this, again, has been around for 100 years. It's not a loophole. It irritates me when I hear it called a loophole. It's no more the loophole than the child tax credit that started in 1997, right? It is not a loophole. It is a bona fide taxable criteria. IRS code 1031 is what it is. And it's been here for 100 years. And people have been using this as a strategy to create wealth for their families. Now, without this, not everybody has a big 401k. Not everybody they work at a job where they get a retirement package when they leave. And Social Security, do you really want to have that being what you depend on? I don't think so. So nobody wants to be a burden to their children. So a lot of people, what they've done is they've started to use this IRS tax code 1031 to their advantage so that they're not a burden to their kid. It allows them to grow their investment tax deferred. It's not tax free, it's tax deferred to grow it. And then that is what's paying for the retirement. Well, if this goes away or is reduced, the likelihood that they'll become a burden on their children someday is increased. So that's the first way you see it. The second way is, again, Biden is saying that it only hits the super wealthy. Again, that's not true. In fact, I don't really think it's going to help hit the wealthy that bad at all, because you have big corporations that are, they get to use this too. They're buying malls and big investments. And then you also have just very, very wealthy individuals. Well, they're going to use tax designers. They can afford people called tax design people. These are high-level accountants that are usually mixed up with attorneys. And honestly speaking, what they do is they look for the advantages that politicians create for themselves in the tax code that they use, and they learn those advantages, and then they just copy it and give it to their clients. Well, big corporations and really wealthy people can do that, but the average person who's just trying to create their own retirement, they can't afford those people. So the big wealthy people that Biden says he's going after, they're not going to pay it. But the average person, the middle class, they're going to get hammered on this one. So that's the second way. The third way is, from the whiteboard, I showed you that the 1031 exchange encourages sales. Now, removing this, as I mentioned, or limiting it, it makes it to where there's no advantage to sell. So if I have a big gain in an investment property and I want to sell it and buy a bunch of investment properties, or maybe two, and I can defer the taxes and buy the two, I'm going to do that. Now, if I end up having to give half of it away to the government, I'm just not going to sell. So they're going to sit around and wait for maybe the next administration that doesn't do stuff like this. But the problem is now you start running into an inventory issue. We're already having problems with inventory. This is another big one. And number 4, and this is the one that's going to impact everybody, big money. And I mean Wall Street money. Wall Street money, the REITs, the real estate investment trusts, what do they typically buy? They're buying huge apartment complexes. They're buying strip malls. They're buying investments that are hundreds of millions of dollars. So for them to make a $500,000 gain, it's really not a big deal on hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, they're going to stop investing in those big ticket items. And what's going to end up happening is they're going to buy a whole bunch of small ticket items. And by that, I mean, they're going to be buying the same real estate, the same single family residences, the same condos that you and I are buying for our families. And if you think it's tough right now to buy a house, you think the inventory is limited, you think that you're competing against a bunch of people, try to compete with your family against Wall Street with their hundreds of millions of dollars. And guess what? They're not getting a loan. They're paying cash. Try to compete with that. So what's going to happen from this tax plan are those 4 things that even though maybe you don't own investment properties right now, this is going to impact you.
But it's not just investment properties, because capital gains you pay if you don't live in a residence and you sell it in under 2 years, correct?
Right.
So
you would have that. There's all kinds of exclusions to get around that one, though. That one's pretty simple. If you have a problem with that one, just give me a call. I'll get you out of that one. Can
you draw another flow chart for me on that one so I can make sure that doesn't happen?
Well, yeah, I'll have my 3-year-old draw. She draws better than me.
You did really well. This is a very complex issue. We're out of time for tonight, but I'd really like to be able to discuss with you more as far as how it's going to impact the market as a whole, because we didn't even get into what it's going to do to the pricing of our homes when this bubble, let's say, bursts. So, Jim, again, really appreciate your time tonight. I expect another flow chart next time we speak, okay?
I'll work on it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.